All right, everybody, last steps. This is getting your baskets ready to put together, assemble everything. So you're gonna need the two baskets that you've put together. You also need the pincushion with the straps attached. So first thing you need to do, turn the basket that's gonna be your outer fabric right side out. So I should be able to see the pattern, whatever that pattern is. Your seam should be on the inside. Do the opposite with your lining fabric. Whatever your lining fabric is, I want to be able to see your seams on the bottom and in the back. Okay. You're going to take your lining fabric, almost like open it up. If you want to sit it down on something, you can. It doesn't have to stay up perfectly, but you're going to take your basket, that's your good fabric, and you're going to place it inside of your lining. You should have both of the back seams matching up. So that should be the seam that's coming straight to the top. That's the only seam that you have, should match up on one of the sides. Okay. Once you have that, the next thing it tells you on your directions is to pin the ends of the straps along the back side of the bag. The pin cushion should be in between. Now, I think this is the hardest step to even explain. So just watch. I'm going to take my pin cushion. Okay. I'm going to put it inside with the pin cushion first, straps second, so that the tops of the straps match up on the inside with the top of the bag. Okay. So I'm going to take it, put it on the side that has the seam, and I'm going to put it in between the two layers. So I'm going to put it in between my lining and my right side of my fabric. So it's going in, it's almost like this little pocket right here. Perfect. All right, now I'm going to take the straps and I'm going to find where I want them to be. And if you kind of followed the same direction as me, you'll have about 1 inch in between. So I'm going to also try to pin it at the top. Doesn't matter which side you pin it to because you're going to pin both of the layers together anyways. Once I pin it, it might not be permanent, but I'm going to pin it first and then I'm going to measure. There should be about 1 inch. Yep, about 1 inch in between. And then I know I'm good. Now I'm going to match up the back seams to my bag. So I have the straps pinned to the lining. Now I'm going to also pin the good side to the lining and the straps. Starting right there, and then I'm going to work my way around. So now that I have it pinned with the two center seams at the exact same spot, I'm going to actually move not around the bag right away. I'm going to actually even out my fabric and pin it on the opposite side. So now you'll see that maybe there's a slight discrepancy based on, your seam allowance, but you're going to find the middle of the other side and you're going to pin that together. So now I have my bag pinned there. And actually, you want to make sure you're pinning on the inside or the outside. As long as it's the same, that's fine. So now you can see I have one pin on this side and I have my strap and everything pinned on this side. Now I'm going to go to the sides of my bag. I'm going to pin it here. And now I'm going to find the middle-ish on the other side, which is right about here. Okay, so now you can see I have it pinned in a lot of places. And then I'm going to put one pin in between each of the ones that I have right now. So here's a pin and here's a pin. So now I'm going to find one space right in the middle, pin that. Same thing right here. I have a pin there and a pin there. I'm going to go right in between. This is just going to secure everything so that when you're sewing it around, you're not going to have all this extra fabric kind of hanging out. And make sure that everything is lined up correctly. So now I'm pinning here and So let's see, maybe one more right there. All right, so now I have the bag. It's all pinned. And now I don't have to leave any openings because I have the opening on the back. So now I'm gonna sew all the way around the entire loop. Okay, wherever you start and finish, make sure you backstitch. I like to start and finish with my seam, but that's totally your call as long as you start and finish in the same spot and backstitch at both ends. That is 100% your call. When you sew all the way around, do make sure you're catching both the top and bottom fabrics. You want to make sure that you're not just getting the inner or the outer. And if that happens, you might end up with a hole, and we don't want that. So we're going to start our stitching, needle down, back stitch, sew, back stitch, perfect. And making our way around. If you want to leave your pins in, you can. If you want to take them out, you can. I like to leave some of them in, especially right by the straps, only because I don't want the straps to go anywhere. But for the most part,
I didn't catch that. Could you try again?
Oh, my Siri caught that though. Now you'll see that sewing around in a circle is going to take a little bit of kind of shimmying my fabric. So you'll see I do a straight for a little while. And then when I get to a point where I'm taking out a pin, a lot of times I'll find that I will kind of shift everything all at once. I'll shift the whole bag. So here we go. Also get to a pin, shift the bag, pull the pin, and keep sewing. I ran out of bobbin thread, which is the worst feeling in the world. Either that or something weird happened. All right, so let's figure out what happened. Yep, I ran out of bobbin thread. What a bummer. Okay, well, you're gonna get to see me redo everything. So let me see if I can find a bobbin to just get us through this. So I know my machine's a little different, so you'll see me do something a little different than we do on our machine. There we go. Gonna go fishing just the same. Okay, so if that happens, obviously you need to rethread your bobbin, rewind your bobbin. I'm gonna go ahead and see if I can replace some of these pins really fast. What a bummer. But now you get to see that it even happens to me. So when I said you run out of bobbin thread, and it's really frustrating, now you can see because I thought I was stitching that whole time. I was just chatting, talking to you, didn't even notice it had come undone. Okay, so now I'm gonna find, if this ever happens to you, find where it was doing its last really good stitches, which for me is like right about here. I'm gonna start there. I'm gonna back stitch on top of my old stitching to kind of continue the line that I was doing before. So I'm gonna put this in. Here we go. And let's stitch. I'm gonna check and make sure we really are going, which it looks like we are. Yep, looks like we're good to go. Okay, so now we'll keep stitching. I'll keep shifting. Once I shift, I get to my next pin, shift again, stitching over my straps. I'm gonna keep my pins in. Be very careful though. I get to my back stitching from before. I'm gonna back stitch again. And now, first things first, I'm going to remove my pins. I don't want to get stuck with them when I go to turn. And then I'm going to take all these lovely threads and I'm just going to trim them because they are going to get all messed up in my turn if I don't just trim some of them right now. So I'm going to get rid of these. All right. Now, if you remember, oh, I have one more right there. Two more. So if you remember, we left our hole on the back of our bag. I can see my pins from my straps. What I'm going to do is see if I can reach in and get those before I flip, just like I did with the pin cushion. It's never a nice thing if you get yourself with one of those pins. So now what I'm going to do through this hole, I'm turning the whole thing right side out. It's kind of like the magic part of this whole thing. So I can start with my pin cushion with my bag, pull all of it back out. And now you see I have my 3 pieces kind of, and this looks like, oh my goodness, I did something wrong. No, you didn't. All you have to do then is take your lining and stuff it inside. And now you have your thread catcher. So we have a couple steps still left to do. They're really not bad at all. And here's how you're going to finish up a couple things to make your bag look finished and to make it look really nice. Number 1, you're going to take, and this is option 2. I think this is just the easiest way to do it. You're going to take and you're going to press all the way along this top edge, kind of pushing your stitching as far to the top as you can. So when you see what I'm doing here, you can see that there's not much room before you see my stitching. So I'm going to press that so it's really nice and straight up to the top. Okay, so I'm going to grab my iron and do that super quick. I do like to use the heat when I do that. I think it just helps kind of steam it and also just kind of keep it in place when you go to sew. Do the best you can. When you get around, you'll see that there are lots of ways to make it nice and crisp, and you just have to kind of find the best way for you. So now you'll see it's kind of pressed up really nice. And all I'm going to do is starting wherever you would like. I actually like to start on one of the sides. I know that sounds kind of silly, but if I started in the back, I would see all of my back stitching. If I start on one of the sides, you might not actually see that back stitching very much. So all you're going to do, and this is called a top stitch. Top stitching kind of helps reinforce like an seam or where your seam is meeting and you flipped it out. It's going to kind of make that really nice and crisp. Okay, so top stitching is going to be about as close to the edge of the fabric as you can get. And you'll see what it looks like right now. So it's not going to be edge of the presser foot like most of the other stitches on this. You're going to be more at that 1/8, which is the inside of that silver part on your presser foot. Or if you follow the clear case, there is a 1/8 line. Okay, so put it in, hold on to the edges, and then you're going to put your needle down, do a little back stitch, and then just slowly, again, you're in 1/8 of an inch, go all the way around, making sure that when you get to your straps, the straps will sit on the inside and your bag will go on the outside of your machine. So go nice and slow. A top stitch will be seen, unlike all of the other stitches that you're gonna do. So it is not a race by any means when you're doing any sort of top stitching. Take your time, go slow, and make your way around the bag. Same thing as when you stitched before, at the very beginning and the very end, you do want to back stitch because you don't want your top stitching to start unthreading. So I'm doing the same thing also because we're on our circle. I'm just kind of flipping it as I get to a point where there's not a lot of slack. Okay, and I'm starting to get to the point where I'm seeing my other stitch. So I'm gonna actually trim the threads now so that when I get to that same spot, I'm gonna just do another back stitch and go forward, and I am all done. All right, I'm gonna trim my threads again so they're nice and short. But now you can see that I have a nice, almost like solidified edge to my thread basket. Okay. The last thing you have to do for the basket before we stuff it is seal this opening on the lining. Now, if you're picky about what it looks like, you're welcome to hand sew it, and I can show you a video on how to do an invisible stitch and you can stitch it closed. Because it's on the inside of something that's going to pretty much have threads and garbage, I don't mind doing another top stitch to kind of keep that closed. So what I'm going to do is put a couple pins perpendicular to my opening. I think 3 should be nice, and there we go. Nice and long enough. I know that my opening kind of starts right here. I can see my marking just a little bit and ends right here. So I'm going to start a little farther on the outside of both. And I'm going to kind of ease my way in and then ease my way back off. So I will show you what this looks like here in just a second. So again, 1/8 of an inch, right at the edge of that toe of your presser foot. I'm gonna get to my pins. The nice thing is this is already pressed, so you don't really even need to press it at all. It's already gonna be nice and solid for you. I'm gonna stitch and go up and back. And this one doesn't have to be perfect. Like I said, the nice thing is this is the inside of something that's gonna collect some garbage. You could do a nice whip stitch and stitch it closed, but if this is all I'm gonna see, I am 100% fine with it. So now when I stuff that back inside, you'll see that there's my little seam right there. Now, if I had picked a nicer thread color, I wanted to make sure it was something you could see. But if I had picked yellow, you would never see those stitches on the inside. So thread catcher is all done. Now the only step left is to fill and stitch this opening closed. I will be showing you the invisible stitch for this one, and I'll show you the whip stitch. You can try both. I think the invisible stitch looks nicer because it's hidden, but this is what a whip stitch looks like. So you can see, I mean, I can see my stitches, but it's definitely not super noticeable, again, depending on what color thread you pick. And I have a bunch of them that you can choose from, and I'll tell you where those are when you get there. Okay. So thread catcher done. Awesome. I know that's a lot of information, lots of videos. please don't hesitate to ask me any questions. But it's so nice when you're all done. It is a wonderful project and something you will truly use all semester from here on out, and hopefully in other semesters for Fashion Studio that you take. It'll kind of be one of those things you always have with you. This has probably been around for like over 10 years now, still in great shape, and I use it every single time I sew. So, great job, enjoy, and let me know how I can help you.